Hey guys, I pulled out the old camera and went to the other room so I can get away from the laptop fan because I still don't know what's going to happen with that. But anyway, Sunday's done. Sunday wild card, and that's a little more like it. That's a little more like what I want to see. That's we had a very good game, obviously, with the late game. The early game I had enjoyed watching, even though it was a bloodbath, and yeah, I had a lot more fun than I think I did yesterday, which featured a bad game that I didn't feel compelled about, and a pretty decisive blowout. So, all that being said, where to start with this one? Looking at the early game, the Ravens and the Patriots, that's really the Ravens team that I was waiting to come out all year, but they never did. Ever since really Week 4 when they lost to New England, or maybe it was Week 5 when they lost to New England, it seemed like they were never quite able to get to where they could have been. All season they kept losing to the good teams that they played. I mean, they played a lot of good teams close, but they didn't win. You know, they lost to the Colts, they lost to the Vikings, they lost twice to the Bengals. They had a hard time getting over that hump. And at some point you just kind of think, well, it's not going to happen. And today it happened, because that is exactly the Ravens team that they needed to show off all year. You know, Joe Flacco, only 4 completions, but that's what this team is. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because you have to accept your identity, you have to accept who you are, and they're a team that runs the ball as well as any team in this league. You guys saw Ray Rice. That's why he's becoming one of my favorite players in the league. The dude's a monster. You've heard the comparisons to Emmitt Smith in the way that he runs. I heard an announcer, I can't remember who it was, make that comparison today. And there you go. And he's got speed, he's got moves, he can break tackles, he can catch out of the backfield. What can't he do? And then you have McGahee and LaRon McClain. All those guys contributed nicely today to the win today. And, you know, ideally you'd want Flacco to be better than he was today, because he was not good today, but it didn't matter at all. He was never put in a position where he had to make any kind of important throw. The running game single-handedly had the game so far out of reach he could do whatever he wanted, and the 4 completions he did throw were more than enough to help seal this game, quite frankly. So, yep. And defensively, they got a ton of pressure every other pass play. Now, when they didn't, it did get ugly, but their secondary is not good. So you have to get pressure, and oh boy, they did. And it was fun to watch, I gotta say. So, and the secondary not dropping interceptions. I mean, they dropped a few, but they made so many, it didn't matter. I mean, when you drop a couple, you'll live, but you just gotta catch enough, and they certainly did that. Frank Walker, Dominique Foxworth, Ed Reed, all those guys I thought made good plays on the ball. That was largely forced by Terrell Suggs and all the guys on that Ravens defense getting a lot of pressure, free rushers, hitting Brady. And, you know, I know Tom Brady's playing with broken ribs and a broken finger, and that's how you get to him. You just apply a lot of pressure, and you guys saw the results. So, yeah, I enjoyed watching that. That's the Ravens team I wanted to see all year, and they came out just in time. Okay, second game. I'm actually watching highlights of that right now. Packers-Cardinals. We got a nice clash here. These teams, I don't know if they complemented each other well, but they brought out the best in each other, at least offensively, because obviously there was no defense to speak of in this game. You know, 51-45, that says enough all by itself. But I don't care. I care about that I was entertained. That's what's really important to me here, and I think all of us were certainly that. Rodgers played really well, other than one bad throw. I thought he made that one bad throw right at the beginning of the game. He did have a couple overthrows and underthrows, but that's going to happen. His first throw of the game was awful and very costly, but other than that, I thought he played great. Obviously, you know, he scored 45 points. His offense scored 45 points. Cardinals defense, I know Even though they gave up 45 points, I was somewhat impressed with the way in which they can generate pressure, the ways in which they can stop runners for no gain, the ways in which they can prevent big plays. There were some things going on there that did impress me. So, I'm just putting that out there. But the Arizona offense has to be the story of the day here. Kurt Warner, a clinic. That was one of the best games I've ever seen Kurt Warner throw. One of the best games I've ever seen any quarterback throw. All the receivers got involved. Fitzgerald, last year we all saw Fitzgerald be a one-man wrecking crew. But this year it was, in this game it was more than that. It was early Doucette. It was Breston. It was whoever. Didn't matter. Whoever was open. And really, I'd say that about both teams because James Jones made plays. You had Havner make plays. Jermichael Finley had a huge game. So just an entertaining battle where both teams have a lot of different weapons, and they both brought it. So I will say in closing, I did think that the officiating somewhat favored the Cardinals. I know a lot of Packers fans are going to say that. I know Packers fans that are already not too happy about it, and I agree. There were some things out there. Larry Fitzgerald pretty much ran right over Charles Woodson on one of Larry's touchdowns. There looked like there was a face mask in overtime, and a spearing leading with a helmet at one point. But when you give up 51 points, when your offense gives up 51, when your defense, gives up 51 points, you can't be terribly surprised. So, great game, one of the classics. We'll remember it fondly, I think. And I guess I'll leave it at that. Just an epic clash of two teams that they know how to light it up, man. And I feel bad for the Packers fans. That's a brutal, brutal way to lose, but y'all played really tough out there. Y'all played well, and the future bodes well for you guys because you got playmakers. You can score. This was just one of those days where somebody had to lose, and y'all got kind of unlucky there at the end with the fumble. So it's going to happen, and it wasn't a bad first playoff game at all. So that's enough for me. I'll be talking about the divisional round when time comes.